Let's see. Brother Moses on a quick live stream, man. It's not going to be so quick. When I say quick, I'm talking Southern Baptist minutes quick. So give me about to 11:30. I got a barbershop to go to at about 11:45. Got to set my lift to take me on over there, have that conversation there. Quick developing some content for you, man. I'm going to be multitasking at the same time, but I'm testing out this new system again that brother George Macon sent me, fellow YouTuber. See how that works. A couple of things to get accomplished as well. But I do want to check it myself and verify that this thing even has some functionality to it for me. Give me a sec. There we go. Check, check. Check, check. All right, perfect. So I can at least hear. What up, nephew? Let's go. So now that we got that verified that it actually does show up, let's see what it looks like. Doesn't look too bad, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to buy me a whole office if I'm going to be presenting and stuff live, man. First and foremost, man, you see it. It is a little bit of clickbait because I want to have some continuity over the years. And I actually want to add a little bit of value while I'm going through this. And so what I wanted to do was prepare an Excel spreadsheet. Let me see here. The music may be a little loud. Let me check that. See what that do. Hold on, let me check this one too. Yeah, I know. Hopefully it still comes off clear. Let me try this one now. And good. So what I did, I just brought up one of my regular Excel spreadsheets. Already had it up and running, so it'll be a little bit quicker. But as you see here, it's something I was already working on. 20 questions to test whether you're pro-Black. And I'll go into the breakdown of the Excel spreadsheet first, and then I'll move into the creation of the content. The content here is creating. I was actually thinking about creating like a list of all the different links that are connected to a certain story, and therefore creating my own data depository that I have related to the content that I want to speak about. And I know one of the hardest part in academia is keeping track of those sources. And then now that we're moving into a media space where broadcast is live allows us to do that in real time, we have both the video or audio as well as the actual links to those stories. So the sources in the olden days, or when I was in college, we would go to the library, we would find a book, or we would go online to JSTOR is another one where you can find peer-reviewed articles and such. And from those peer-reviewed articles, the PhDs or the folks who were bringing that content or that information, those studies, those reviews, they would be sourced. And similarly in the YouTube space, you'll see people put their links in the description below the video as to the information that they're creating. And they'll just say it, but for those in perpetuity or going forward who are looking to make all of this make sense, how did they create a production? I think this will be valuable to you there. The entire premise of finding sourced material is a collegiate form, and salute to all of those YouTubers who already take advantage of that. And so let's start off here. Quick overview for those who are new to this, for those who are already more advanced. Bear with us. 20 questions to test whether you're pro-Black. So I just gave it a quick title. The purpose is to assess how closely your views align with the pro-Black sentiment. So you see, that was column A. These are all columns over the top. I even have some hidden. These are your rows. All of them will pop up and let you know if you click on it anywhere. This is where you can identify that at. and the content inside of that space. I put instructions here, as you see in A3, because that was something that I wanted to leave open right now. So the instructions can be 2 or 3-fold. If you want to create a survey or a poll or something like that, there is a feature inside of the studio or the beta studio creator in YouTube and in some of these other information sharing platforms that does allow quick polls to be made. But in many cases, it can be something like SurveyMonkey, or you can do them with like Google Tools has a survey maker. And so for the case for this one, it would be generating a survey. All right. The parts of this question or this test on whether you're pro-Black said so that it's a self-assessment, something that they can do on their own. So it has to be a hyperlink enabled thing. In some cases, I would put over here notes, and then I would say something like hyperlink. And so for that same manner, we'll just put it here, hyperlink. And then you have the questions that you actually want to create inside the survey. So that part of the program or of the media that you're creating, that survey part has to be done before you actually launch your media or your actual video, your content that you're actually creating or delivering on. As you'll see when we watch the media and we watch things that are already pre-programmed through Bloomberg or whether it's financial analysis on Bloomberg, a lot of the news, the Young Turks, or for example, people use pre-generated information or data such as surveys. They'll say the Census Bureau or Pew Research, something along those lines. They'll find those connecting pieces that someone else has already created. But for this, remember, we talked to a pro-Black consciousness that says, what about those of us who are the source? We are the authority, we are the sovereign. And so we are the ones who are actually generating this research, this data. As I said, from my experience, it was in college where it was most useful, where we had to use those links and sources that were external. But most of the work that we were creating, a bulk of it, the majority of the work, whether it was the English papers, economics exams and things like that, where you really had to spell out your thoughts and such in a cohesive fashion. Man, I wish I would have had YouTube back then. It would have helped a lot too, just to share a video link rather than all of this. But I digress. Anyway, so we list out the questions. And in this survey, I'm going to go all the way through those ones so that you get a gist of what it actually entails to put in this work. Okay, so the number, these can be highlighted or colored or something like that to give you something. And I was going to go super deep here too, but I'll leave that alone for now. Question number 1, is racial discrimination real? Number 2, should freedom of speech include hate speech? Number 3, should Americans have to register to own fully automatic firearms? Number 4, did you grow up in an impoverished community or family? Number 5, is abortion murder? Number 6, does an individual vote matter in a representative democracy? Number 7, is Christianity a white man's religion? Number 8, does perceived systemic oppression justify rebellious acts? Number 9, should African Americans go back to Africa voluntarily? Number 10, is the current state of the Black community the direct result of slavery and Jim Crow? Number 11, are Black parents to blame for underperforming schools? Number 12, should American descendants of slaves receive reparations? 13, militarization of the police can deter Black on Black crime. Question 14, do you identify with Africa as your mother country? Question 15, should young men be sent to war before their 21st birthday? 16, Do you have close relatives who were incarcerated, addicted to crack, or died young? 17. Have you been discriminated against by the police, employer, or business owner? 18. Should non-citizens receive public assistance, student loans, or low-income housing? Number 19. Should the federal government reclassify, legalize, and decriminalize marijuana? Question number 20. Is education the best path out of poverty? Is education the best path out of poverty? Twenty questions to test whether you're pro-Black. How to use an Excel spreadsheet. See what else I put on there just to be a bonus for you also. Quick definitions, self-assessment. So there's different tabs down here at the bottom when you're creating multiple sheets. Here, I just tried to give myself some reference of what I was referring to. So self-assessment. How closely do you believe you align to a pro-Black sentiment? So just some things to help people when, there's often questions. Well, how do I take this test? Or when I go over it, how should I respond? So respond, should order the categories from most likely to align to least likely. So in some cases, the survey would be like let's say a 1 to 10, maybe a 1 to 5, something along those lines. In some surveys, it's just a yes or no question. It's going to date. I could probably go and change that, but I'm not going to focus on that right now. The most likely category should receive a 4, down to the least being a 1. So if it's most likely to be like you, I like the numbers of the 25. It make it easy to move that data into quartiles. So 1 to 4 is probably the best, even better than a 1 out of 5. But that's just my analytical mind. Quartiles mean 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. 100%. 100% is most likely. 75%, or if you rated it a 3, it would be, it's kind of like me. I don't fully agree. That 50% or that 2 would indicate, somewhat is, somewhat isn't, somewhat likely aligned, somewhat doesn't align.
Can you play the game?
Nephew, I already told you yes, but you got to talk to Quincy, your cousin, about that. So I moved the categories also into different types of questions that I was asking. There are social questions, there's political questions, there's economic questions, and then there's experiential questions. And I'll go over what those meant to me, but for others, it may mean something to them. Social questions pertain to issues that affect society or the Black community. For some people, they would relatively side with America as a whole, universal language. Others, they would identify more with what's important to the Black community. You saw on the other sheet, I'll show you quickly, the staging sheet, I had weights closed off because I didn't want to go too deep on the conversation on what does that score actually reflect. So for a self-assessment, if you are somebody who thinks that when you're looking at these 4 categories, the category that is the most likely to appeal to you is I'm more about economics when I'm thinking about things. So things that pertain to money, capitalism, those are the issues that my pocket, my bank account, people who would lean towards that, they would get a weight of a 4 to all economic questions. All economic questions would get a weight of a 4 because to them in their self-assessment, this is about how they view the world. Political relates to the American government, the laws and the policies, and I'll give some quick examples. I can't speak today. I probably need some water and a little bit of everything, but I am in Phoenix, Arizona. It is hot. I don't like keeping my air on to create an additional expense. Let me take a quick break. If there's anyone to acknowledge in the chat, thanks for joining live. Looks like Cousin Ro. Yes, sir. Appreciate you. And let me hop right back to it. And I also want to see this. As I go into this, I like to have music. Hopefully, it's not too much of a distraction for those people in the background. And I did get licenses to these beats. Let me call out this one on this quick one as the music comes on so we can work. Again, this is for perpetuity. This information will be relevant to generations to come. Someone may want to know how to create a PowerPoint presentation. Quick little segue, man. It was a lot going on today. I joined Nyla Says, part of the B1 Network. We deliver content as a co-contributor today. Major topic. It's going to hit like no other. It's going to hit like I predict that it's going to hit like no other. As you see here, I do have a license to this effective as of May 2, 2019 to use. All right. So don't flag my music. All right, so category, as you see here, was C, which corresponds to the definitions here. These are the categories. And then again, we had weight. If somebody identifies as being more socially oriented, I just really care about, universal truths. You would identify those folks with compassion, right? Society on the whole, how do we keep things, equality, wealth and income inequality, saving life, pro-life, preservative rather than conservative, but maybe from the conservative idea, which is more political, but from a social element of the political bill, is abortion murder. An example of the weight. On question 4, did you grow up in an impoverished community or family? Weight 4 means that I am more of an experiential person. And so for me, if you grew up in an impoverished community, we can almost click and identify on some shared experiences. If you value family values, such experiential, we can connect there. And so on answering whether you're pro-Black, to me, that weight of 4 would put you higher at being more closely aligned with pro-Black. What I didn't get to in creating this survey, which is thus the video, keeping a timestamp on progress on the creation of YouTube material. What I didn't get to, which would be subjective, is actually determining whether a pro-Black sentiment is a high score, a lot of 4s, 100, or wherever it is. It's 20 questions, each with a weight of 4. So probably if most of the experiential questions are more pro-Black. And the reason why I didn't conclude is obvious. I have yet to administer the survey. If you can ask people if they identify as pro-Black, they probably say yes or no. And then if you can ask them, well, along these 4 categories, which do you think are the most important? Social, political, economic, or experiential? Might have to go a little bit different on that because just the way the wording comes out. Anywho, some of these things can be edited, which I probably won't get around to. I like it the way it is. Also, like on this one, how we created some alternative questions, just things that were coming to my mind. A lot of this, I did have a source. Did I link it? No, I didn't link it. I was going to go all the way out to 50 because if it's just a yes or no, then it is something that can go relatively quick and not take up 15 minutes of somebody's time to be able to complete that survey and then send back that link. If you create it in real time and people are actually able to do it on a live stream and you do have 2,000 people that are in the chat room with you, then you're able to drive those results a lot quicker. And I've been in some conferences, larger conferences, 500 plus attendees where they've used some form of technology integrated in their live performance or their live stream, their live presentation. Um, and they've included a survey that people were even able to use on their phones, thus Google Tools. And similarly, one of the benefits of Black YouTube or B1 Network, O'Shea Duke Broadcast, the Manosphere, Sonetta TV, and so many others who do live streams consistently with more than 2,000 in the live stream is the rate of response. So if you only did 10 questions at a time or 5 questions at a time, you would build out your survey for your study. And that's indicative to W.E.B. Du Bois. So moving forward, I'm going to go through these questions just for you all, and then I will proceed as I'll use this as my fuel into the next part of the presentation, which is the PowerPoint. So now that you've identified this information, you want to put it on a screen that is presentable to the people behind you, the people who are actually participating in the live stream. So you've created your survey, which you're going to use for your content. And inside of that content, you found the links to make that survey go live while you are live, and you're going to contribute this survey. Appreciate you, Gab Talk Media. Yes, sir. By the way, because that's my big bro, I'm going to take it one step further and say these are actual questions that I would want to know. When I come on live streams, there are opportunities to discuss some real impactful, controversial in many cases. But in those spaces, like the brother ABL or Anthony Brian Logan, he has a good mixed demographic of people who will say, I do not identify as pro-Black. So it becomes even more imperative to get that feedback and live response from those people who will not agree. Just as imperative as it is to have the brother George Macon going live with the people inside of his network, administering similar type of surveys that actually grab information and take a timestamp. And now it's not Census Bureau says. Now it's not the Moynihan report says. Now it is from Right Now, created by Right Now, amongst those who are in the now and in the know, and who have passion for some of these things. Look, when we looked at some of these questions, I'll move on to the next list. Should mega churches be tax exempt? Are the rich paying their fair share? Are individuals to blame for broken homes? Is an abortion murder? So I took that one and actually added, I see. Should we reduce the nuclear stockpile? Are white people why we don't have equal rights in America? Is honesty always the best policy? Do you poor people want to be poor? I like the way that one's worded because it does give that sentiment that somebody who may not be poor may actually feel it in a way that resonates with them. There are many people, I'm not one of them, who would say, you poor people, or who disassociate themselves from the greater we. Should we reduce the nuclear stockpile? Are white people why we don't have equal rights in America? For somebody that's Black first or B1, pro-Black, a super sentiment experiential right here. From their experiences, the white people who were a part of Congress or localities were demanding submission to laws. We don't have equal rights that inhibited equal rights here in America. But to others who accept the great we, this could be anybody, an Asian. This could be even why white people don't have equal rights. The question itself doesn't have a racial undertone, but it does smack racism right in the face. Are white people why we don't have equal rights in America? For some white people, they would automatically be triggered and say that this survey is being racist. But I don't think it is. I think it's asking a real legitimate question. These are white people. Sorry. RBR Network's influence. And some similar sentiments. Are most African countries corrupt? Do you spend at least $200 per month on black businesses, services, or products? Now, to somebody who's pro-black but believes in economic, is America a good example of respect for human rights? That's somebody who is social leaning or societal. What matters most to them is social things. Church. Should mega churches be tax exempt? That is a social question. If for you social matters are a highest priority, even more than economics, imagine having these debates and ongoing with people who have an economic first mentality, and you're somebody with a social first mentality. Social conditions and things. I don't want to get too smart there, but I don't want to, because I don't want to talk over people's heads, but I do want to say this is my voice here. This is actually how I think and speak. For me, I would get, let's be transparent here. If I was to take this survey live, and if there's anyone live with me right now, shout out to you. Let's do it. So I wanted to create an answer key just for myself, and then you'll see that I didn't get anywhere with this. But an answer key would have a true answer key would have to be from the sentiment of a broader survey. All right. So I'm going to actually go through and answer these questions before I pivot. And I know we're going to get into the PowerPoint. But remember, we need this influence to give us the actual pictures and things that we would want to have on our PowerPoint slide. All right. So let's take that and let's run with it. But the first thing that I know I will need for the PowerPoint, since I promised, let's do that real quick. And I do have a PowerPoint that is already open that we can use as a template. We'll just take a general look here. Let me close those for you. From the current slide, I'm going to open it up real big and do a quick walkthrough. Here is a major image. I think this is a stock image provided by PowerPoint. And then the information that you actually want to discuss would be here. And so let me exit. And I'm going to take just this, provide a duplicate, because if you heard me right, yes, you heard me right, I am going to take justice. 20 questions to test whether you're pro-black. So you're going to create a survey with an actual link. I could probably pretty this up, but I don't really care for doing that right now in front of you. That is not what's most important. But 20 questions to test whether you're pro-black. I'm going to take the survey, but right there, I just changed the title. I did it quickly, but I took this one. I hit my right click button. I dropped down to duplicate the slide because that template is what we're going to be putting our questions on so that people who are viewing the material know what they're looking at. If they're doing it live, they may be able to do it via a phone, but that might take them out of your live stream chat. Anybody who's not using or viewing the content via their own iPad. Many people are on their phones, and those survey polls are probably 1 to 2 questions at a time and provide real-time analytics that can be used on the current discussion as well as future discussions. But for yours, you want this, which is the actual data. And you want your copyright or your intellectual property over that information in perpetuity. And in doing so, create a net to capture the rights to the monetary value should and when this thing hit critical mass or this model or this information or the words that you used when explaining it, all of those things that you would want credit for in perpetuity. And the true value, though, is the results when you're able to say 25. So let me do one more. Insert. So again, I operate like this. I went to my column, I right clicked it, and it gave me my drop down box of any of the things that I might have considered doing right now. And from that drop down box, I inserted a new a new row. Similar here, this information or this column can be used to house all of the hyperlinks or the information for said PowerPoint. Right click, insert. Is that the right one? I might be tripping. Let me cancel that and insert. Let's try it. This is what I like. Like once we have the data and able to make pivot tables and things of that nature, tables look good, charts, being able to provide that chart or pictographic information. If they would allow your analytics to be shared in real time, and it includes that type of a survey, what is the sentiment saying, or sentiment analysis during a live stream, is a phenomenal breakthrough. And if there is a way, maybe FBI, CIA, somebody who has that, if that is a publicly shared skill set, then the productivity goes through the roof. IG analytics is one that I can bring up to kind of show the actual value of this actual content that I'm showing right now. Chart titles and such. Let me stop being lost in the sauce. That's late. I'm just going to delete that right now. That's later in the game, the true value. I might have to snip this and just take little pictures and pics of it in little segments, because I can be long-winded as heck with these comments. Moses's responses. Is racial discrimination real? Absolutely. Should freedom of speech include hate speech? Let me do it another way. YouTube example comments. So, is racial discrimination real? These would be, put a 1 in the chat. And your analytics would show you how many people said 1. And that chart would go up and down, showing the number of people or the sentiment towards is racial discrimination real. Next. Should freedom of speech include hate speech? That's a hard and complicated question that is not a yes or no. But because we are limited on time, should freedom of speech include hate speech? Yes. YouTube sentiment, put a 1 in there, a 2. My assumption would be that most people would say no. Freedom of speech does not include hate speech. All right. Why is that relevant? They're looking at right now the rhetoric of our current president is almost considering it impeachable because of his rhetoric. Is he now accomplice to a crime or something? Hold on. Change of music with that one. Change of venue. If we still have people in the chat, what we're doing is how to use PowerPoint and how to use Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoint, using it for the creation of content. Right now, we're in the process of what does a survey look like? What are the questions that we will want to ask? How can we benefit from having that information available? And then the next part is we're creating our own content. So we are the intellectual property right owners. How do you get that copyrighted stuff? That would have to be a part 2. Should it be demand or good information for someone there who is benefiting from it? Let me check the StreamYard to see if there's anyone still rocking with the kid. We're still there. We're still good. It's 11:35. We do have about 10 minutes yet, 10 minutes remaining. So it is coming to the close. You'll hear me start to speak at my more natural pace, but because I was in teaching mode, I wanted to give information in slower sound bites that could be effective. Now that we have those slower sound bites out of the way, let's run through this survey. Brother Doug, man, the top moderator in Black YouTube, man. Brother Nubian, shout out to you. Voice of reason for my people. Salute. BMT, what's good, man? I try to join BMT's gaming channel. I even got a PlayStation 4, had my son set me up with an account. The account needed allowed me to join him when he's on his live, and even while we're in similar matches. Like, you could be in the same game, same match. Next thing investment that I need is the headset so we can actually communicate. I am not one of those brothers who used to go live on Madden or live playing the game. The only time I will say that we did have a great build in our community with a live gaming network is when that Call of Duty came out. When that Call of Duty first came out, man, it united our community and the broader community. So there was at least 20 of us in those live chat sessions at the same time, brother. At least 20 of us. All of us in that same one, and all of us playing the game. And even playing the game then, there were white supremacists on the game saying niggers, and they had the Confederate flag symbols and all of that shit even on the game. And as tournament style, their entire team would be literally going up against our neighborhood's men in a virtual capacity rather than the other. So let's get into it, man. I'm going to run through it, but I had to shout out my brother BMT. That brother empowered me so much. I joined his gaming channel, and I haven't done that in years. I mean, I added ABLs, but I never saw him gaming, but I took steps to join BMT. Salute that brother right there, man. He had one stream on Nyla Says that was so powerful, man. It broke me for a couple of days. I was sitting here hurt, psychologically and emotionally scarred from the trauma, man. And I know we connected, I believe, from brother George Macon's channel as well, and I think he's heard my a similar story about my military experience as well, and what was traumatic there. So, man, big shout out to that brother, man. Love. All right, now let's get back into it. So, checking, are we still streaming here? Let me do a sound check real quick on myself. I'm gonna press the play button. I know there's a delay, but let's try it. So I can at least hear. What up, nephew? So checking. Are we still? Yep. There we go. So I'm gonna pause that and exit that, and jump right back in to the lesson for today. So we're doing how to create a PowerPoint and how to do the Excel spreadsheet in a PowerPoint. What we have here created already for us as we move through it, I explained, the columns and the rows, all of the simple stuff that people need to know, and essentially just where you're putting in the information and why it's important to use the different ones. So you can navigate there by just using left and right on my laptop, which makes everything navigate a lot easier. So when I'm going right, I'm just pressing to the right. Whatever information I wanted in that column, I can put in that column. It can get a lot more organized as you become more efficient and proficient with it. Essentially, my organization structure is top down, left to right, like we're reading a book. 20 questions, purpose, instructions, the parts. What we're doing, 20 questions to test whether you're pro-Black. I am going to self-administer this test as just a test because when I was first coming into the StreamYard, they said you should do some tests. So I'm going to take a test. Here are the number of the questions. It is 1 through 20. It is rated on a 1 to 4 for myself. The 4 categories, again, include social, political, experiential, and political. Social, political, experiential, and economic. I am... Salute. Finally, I've been followed and subscribed to Nyla Says for some years now, and she finally subscribed back. Salute. Peace, and that is big love. B1, Taz. If that guy subscribes to me, I'm going to feel like a brand new nigga. Y'all going to have issues with me because I'm going to be rapping on this motherfucker every Friday. Anyway, economics is close. I got to tell you. If there was any way to be split or he's towing the line on anything, it is what's most important to me. It's probably going to be between social, because I'm black first, and economics. Economics, I feel, is so inextricably bound to the social that it hurts not to say economics first. But if I had to put them in order, my weights would be, and I'll give it to you here, in order. When the weight is there, what would be my 4? What would be my 3? What would be my 2? And what would be my 1? Again, how do you take this test? How do you administer a survey? All of these things would have to be explained up front. So what we're doing, I'm trying to assign my weights. What is most important to me? And that's one of the hardest questions you can ask somebody. Believe me. Number 4 would be social. My number 3 is economics. My number 2 is experiential. And the thing that is of least importance to me is political. Of least importance. I'm not really Trump triggered, but it is what it is. I'm more B1, the things that happen, how those impact us. Economics, I do believe that my family and our pocketbook can do a lot better. I do believe that $100,000 more per month would be the equivalent of a reparation for me right now. That's what I would agree to. Well, what would you take? I would say $100,000 a month. $100,000 a month. And we want the same contract that has been assigned to those who are actually receiving that inheritance. That same one, which is, in long story short, I showed my contract a little bit earlier for the music that's playing in the background. Let me change that up. That one is Revolt, though. I love the title. I just love the name of the music, which is why I bought it, because the contract says Revolt. So shit, nigga, you winning. But the one that I really love the most is this one, Santeria. And that does go to my black and brown connection a lot too. And you'll see my influences come out in even the types of music that I select. But let me see what's up with this one. This is by another black YouTube contributor, or a black YouTube content creator, Ramil Amir. And there are some samples that we would have to get cleared at the point of critical mass. Once again, we're not there yet, so we just gonna let it rock. And we're gonna go into the most important part of this entire presentation, which is the actual survey. Y'all ready? We got 3 minutes to conduct this survey. And man, I got to get my teeth fixed. But if you rocking and you with me, man, let's do it, man. Let's do it live. 20 questions on if you pro-black, man. Let me get a yes if you're a yes. That's easy. Easy work. These questions going to drop quick, fast. We got 3 minutes and it's 20 questions. We got less than 20 seconds per question. Let's drop these questions and just drop your yes. Keep it 100% honest. Keep it real with yourself. Let's rock it, man. Because I know I'm pro-black, and the way that I feel is going to be a sentiment share with a lot of people. You'll find more people on these networks that are going to feel the same. That is my hypothesis. 2 minutes. 2 minute warning. 2 minute warning. B1 all day, every day. Number 1, is racial discrimination real? Yes or no? That is a Y or it is an N. That is not hard to put in the chat. Let's go. Number 2, should freedom of speech include hate speech? You goddamn right. Yes. Number 3, should Americans have to register to own fully automatic firearms? Gun control, gun laws. My answer is still no, fucker. 4, did you grow up in an impoverished community or family? Absolutely. For those who are experiential, you know that meant something to us. Man, we was all broke, which means we had to share, which means sharing is caring. Social is my number 1 thing. It's about us. Is abortion murder? You are goddamn right. I don't even like your goddamn contraceptives and shit. I want to take the condom off. I am not a hypocrite. Let's run with this shit. 6, does an individual vote matter in a representative democracy? My answer today and tomorrow would still be an unequivocal nope. Fucker. 7, is Christianity a white man's religion? You're a goddamn right. Does perceived systemic oppression justify rebellious acts? You are goddamn right. Should African Americans go back to Africa voluntarily? You are goddamn right. Is the current state of the black community the direct result of slavery and Jim Crow? You are goddamn right. Are black parents to blame for underperforming schools? Black parents to blame for underperforming schools? Are black parents to blame for underperforming schools? Nigga. No, fucker. And you got to excuse my crude sense of humor. That was about as much as I could get accomplished in the time that we had allotted, but I'll keep going. For those who are still rocking with us, appreciate it. Question number 12. Should American descendants of slaves receive reparations? Cut the check. Militarization of the police can deter black on black crime. Nope. Do you identify with Africa as your mother country? Yeah, that's mama. Should young men be sent to war before their 21st birthday? You goddamn right. Do you have close relatives who are incarcerated, addicted to nigga? That was almost like a nigga question. Like if you don't even have that, like if I include opioids on there, it's a universal question, right? If I would have just left it at drugs. Have you ever been discriminated against by the police, an employer or business owner? Racial profiling? Yeah, that's real. Have you ever been discriminated against? Oh, I did that one. Should non-citizens receive public assistance, student loans, or low-income housing? Should non-citizens receive public assistance, student loans, or low-income housing? Should non-citizens receive public assistance, student loans, or low-income housing? I'm going to have to say yeah to that. I'm going to have to say yeah. And repatriating to Africa, Ghana, Kinganda or Kenya, Kampala, I would want to be able to purchase the home that my pockets could afford. And if that just so happened to be what they would consider low income housing, absolutely. I would also want to argue for the citizenship. What's up with that shit? How do you get that? Should the federal government reclassify, legalize, and decriminalize marijuana? If you've heard me speak on any live stream, you know I always try to drop in an absolute and unequivocal yes for that. Is education the best path out of poverty? Now that one is where we find our controversy. We can go back. You see this, the thumbnail is Madam C.J. Walker. And with that history and that context and the W.E.B. Du Bois context of the Freedmen Bureau and those freed lands and the talented 10th even and administering the talented 10th, when it comes to education, it has not proven to be the best path out of poverty. And in fact, it took our boys off the workforce and put them in a classroom where they were not earning any money. Final answer. Bang. No, fucker. See, now this is why I have to get a little bit more technically savvy as I bring this stream to a close. Because with Information Man's knowledge and his skill set of these platforms, he would have been able to build out that actual survey that would have been able to capture the sentiment of the responses inside of that survey. So let's just say he's behind the scenes operating said technology while you are doing your live stream or while someone else is doing that live stream, i.e. I brought in the CIA or the FBI or COINTELPRO as they use that universal skill set discriminatorily towards African Americans. Number one priority, the Black identity extremists who are among us, who also have that skill set to be able to make us money using the same things that they're trying to use to make us voiceless. Peace and Black Power. Thank you all for joining. To become a part of that gang notification gang, be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell. That's how you get notifications once we do make content and when we do go live. I would like to revisit this once I do have the skill set and the capability to actually administer this type of survey. For those who are actually participating in this survey in real time, answering those questions as they came out, salute to the gods, man. This information and these level of questions get to the real scrutiny and the examination of the character of Black first mentality. And we need to have these type of conversations, not just in spaces where we feel safe and comfortable, but with those on like ABL's platform who are not a part of our gang notification gang. When we go to the ABLs and we make those calls to the ABLs and we know that he has access to the Black Conservative Party, one motherfucking phone call away from the desk of the president, Sister Candace Owens. 2 people away from Donald Trump being able to approve executive order, $25 million bills, grants, and programs. He should start with those who he has committed a direct injustice to. Those were mothers, those were daughters, those little girls are about my age, motherfucker. And the trafficking of those young girls under the auspices of a Miss America and Miss Teen USA pageant makes you complicit. And that's what those billionaires were using. That was their sales line. That was their global sales pitch that made human trafficking one of the worst criminal offenses in our lifetime. And it goes back to the Clintons. I'm going to throw it in there. I got to go see my barber, man. I'm going to be here all day rocking with y'all, man. But those views can keep going deeper and deeper. But let me do one more again. Big honor and big justice, man. My big brother, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, who is the source that I used, his book, Understanding the Assault on the Black Man, Black Manhood, and Black Masculinity. If you have consumed at least one red pill, now I don't know how many red pills you may have to pop. You may need to pop a red pill daily. You wake up in the morning and pop a red pill just to be sure you stay on your shit. You would understand where I'm going with this. And we might not get there today. We might not get there on this stream. You might not get what I'm saying to you right now. There may be gems that resonated deeper than others. There may be some gems that just went completely over your head. Some that you feel are not relevant. Some you feel are conflation. Some of the steps to what I showed you today here with the PowerPoint and the survey, the Excel sheet and the PowerPoint, where let me do it here real quick for those who are like, well, he didn't actually do what he said he was going to do. If there is anyone in the chat, any of these questions that you would like to see added to that PowerPoint, which would be the question for our next conversation as we create that thumbnail in real time, showing people, giving them this work for free, giving away the skill set. If there is one of these questions that we should add to it, we just want to show them how fast that could happen. If there is anyone in the chat that can do that. I just need one question. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to call my Uber. I just need one question from the chat. If there is anyone still out there rocking with me, let me know. Let me show the questions again. And then maybe if I knew how to share, let me do that. There are the questions right there. So imagine when I finally get the microphone set up and the audio levels are all balanced and the things like that. See, what I really want to do is start rapping, but I would still need the popper stopper. I would still need all of that equipment that I had when I was going to someone else's studio, which is why I call or I join someone's panel rather than trying to be a content creator myself. Although I believe that I can probably add some pretty good content in sections that can be dissected and added in snippets or audio bites, probably some, you know, pre-recorded material and things. All of that comes with a skill set that we have to develop. Again, if there's anyone still rocking with me in the chat, Sister Muhammad, my barber is actually a part of the Nation of Islam. Salute to you. Assalamu alaikum. Number one, I'm just looking for a question. I'm going to grab that question. I'm going to right click that question, and then I'm going to drop it into the PowerPoint. I right clicked it. I cut it. Oops. Control Z. If you do something wrong, remember that. That's another tips and tricks is Control Z. Right click and copy or Control C. Go to my PowerPoint. Let's take that one. It's been a hot topic this year. It is Supreme Court justice being determined, but just like that one, so is LGBTQ rights. Is homosexuality a learned behavior? Should teens have carry and conceal rights? Does it matter if it was an accident or if you didn't mean it? We've dropped it in there. This will be the thumbnail. Make it big from the current slide. Is abortion murder? They would have this question on their screen. Let's do one more. Here's another tips and tricks that I've learned that I'll add right now. It's called a snipping tool. That one. So we take that, we grab a new, and if all we actually want is this space here, then we control, oh, sorry, gotta close it. If that's all we want, control V. And now you have that image that you can use on so many. Let's control VV. And let's see what they have as a concept for that. And now they're giving you some template ideas here for how you can have your questions. For some, they would just scroll them. For others, it's just going to pop up. But whichever form of presentation you want to create, that has been a how-to. You do have places for your questions in your surveys. You have your questions now that are linked. Well, these are my questions. You can feel free to use them. But you know where your survey questions are that you're going to be adding to your PowerPoint. You have your PowerPoint, you have some template ideas. You can come on in there and get those questions put in there. Now your interactive live has just been kicked up a notch because you're creating intellectual property for you and yours. The dollar value, we don't know. If it goes critical mass, then so be it. But intellectual property or copyright laws and things of that nature, the process, your flow, at least to mention you. All right, I'm gonna listen to Brother Gab while I go to this barbershop. Thank everyone again for joining. I done said bye like 4 times. Oh my goodness. And peace. What up, Joe?